World of Warcraft. A name that inspires feelings of joy and nostalgia for millions of gamers across the world. Recently celebrating its 20-year anniversary, World of Warcraft is a game that has withstood the test of time and is still being enjoyed religiously to this day. After 10 expansions, numerous engine updates, a total graphical overhaul, and dozens of content patches, the retail version of WoW is almost unrecognizable in comparison to its old-school, vanilla counterpart. Even with the meticulous balancing and quality of life improvements of the modern-day iteration, hundreds of thousands of players consistently flock to the classic version of World of Warcraft. First officially released in 2019, Classic WoW has enjoyed a massive success. Critics can no longer dismiss its allure as nostalgia or rose-tinted glasses. Classic is here to stay, even with all its shortcomings and flaws. Despite it being 20 years old though, diehard fans still find a way to keep Classic engaging and interesting. Enter hardcore World of Warcraft. Now you see, back in the day, World of Warcraft actually set itself apart by being much more forgiving to casual players. Pitted against competitors such as RuneScape, EverQuest, and Final Fantasy XI, death is pretty insignificant in World of Warcraft. If you die in game, your ghost simply appears at a graveyard, requiring you to walk back to your corpse, reviving with only a small equipment durability penalty. It was a stark contrast to other games in the genre, where it was not unheard of to lose items or experience, even so much that it would cause you to lose a level. Anyone who's ever leveled down in Final Fantasy XI can speak to the unbridled rage that a death can cause. In World of Warcraft, on the other hand, all you really lose is time, and maybe a little bit of pride. Death in WoW is relatively inconsequential, and at most, a minor inconvenience. Well, after the official Blizzard iteration of Classic WoW, a few masochistic players created an add-on that upped the stakes. With this add-on, death was now permanent. No open world grouping was allowed. No auction house or vendors to buy items. You couldn't even use your mailbox. This game mode attracted tons of diehard players vying to test their mettle against this brutally punishing rule set. And not long after its interest started to grow, Blizzard, in typical Blizzard fashion, again jumped on trends amongst the player base. On August 23, 2023, Blizzard officially released World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore servers. Missing a few of the more brutal parts of the hardcore rule set, the most punishing aspect still remained. Death equals delete. And here we are, almost in 2025, and WoW Classic Hardcore is still going strong. Thanks to a ton of creators and streamers, the fresh release of the 20th anniversary hardcore servers are enjoying massive popularity. After all, that's why you're here right now, right? If you're here, hopefully you're a new player looking to see what all the fuss is about. If you're a WoW veteran, well, you might not glean any new information in this video, but by all means, feel free to leave some of your own tips in the comment section to help new players that might check this video out. And also, like this video if it helped you out at all. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. And now we've got the backstory and pleasantries out of the way, let's get on to why you're here in the first place. Here are my top 5 tips to enjoy success in Hardcore Classic as a beginner player, with a goal in mind to hit that massive milestone of level 60. And starting off with number 1, the most important tip for success as a beginner in playing Hardcore WoW. Alright, I kid, but not really. If you've never played World of Warcraft Classic before, there's one thing that's certain. You're gonna die. A lot, in fact. After all, that's how the game was originally designed. Learning a new game can be a test of what works and what doesn't, and although the learning curve is pretty simple, parts of the game can be pretty unforgiving. As a new player, testing your limits and navigating the game can be daunting, even without the factor of permanent death looming over your head. If you truly want to learn the game in a relaxed, stress-free environment, consider loading up the traditional softcore version of WoW Classic. You're free to learn the game at your own pace and intensity level, see how the game systems work and function with one another, and practice the intricacies of your class before you venture out into the real-deal realms. It is my recommendation that you level your desired class to level 20 on a traditional realm, just to get a feel for the experience. Do that, and keep track of how many times you die. Whatever number you get, that's how many times you would have had to restart a new, fresh character from scratch in one of the starting zones. It really puts into perspective how brutal Hardcore Classic can be. Okay, So you're ready to take the plunge into hardcore. My first non-meme tip for survival is always make sure you're much higher level than the content you're tackling. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you've made it to level 12 alive. You got a few quests, but they're orange or red in your quest log. I'm telling you right now, if you attempt these quests at your current level, especially by yourself, you're going to give up the ghost in no time. Punching above your weight class and trying to take on monsters 1 or 2 levels higher than you is a recipe for death. You might be able to survive a battle with one at a time, but it won't be long before a much higher level mob aggroes onto you from halfway across the zone, and brings 3 of his friends with him. Not only is it easier to survive fights with mobs that are 1 or 2 levels below you, but the range in which they'll attack you is much shorter. Being higher level gives you a much better chance of not being unexpectedly overwhelmed by quest mobs or respawns. If your quest log is full of difficult quests, consider spending a level or 2 grinding on some lower level mobs to increase your power. These extra levels will be like a security blanket when you tackle that content. In addition, add-ons such as Questy can show you on your map where you might be able to pick up lower level quests in the meantime. World of Warcraft has always been one of those carefree, relaxing experiences in the gaming world. Most WoW players boot up the game on their primary monitors, load up Netflix or YouTube on their second monitors, and enjoy a casual, stress-free experience. Sometimes they'll park their character out in the wild to take a bathroom break, make dinner, or tend to household needs. Their character might get jumped by a monster out in the wild, or they may even hilariously auto-run themselves off a cliff or an elevator. They come back to their computers, find themselves in ghost form, and have a good laugh. No harm, no foul. A quick corpse run back and they're back playing again. To a hardcore player, this is their worst nightmare. Hardcore World of Warcraft requires an attention span that is unheard of compared to its traditional counterpart. Alt-tabbing with auto-run, AFKing in the middle of the world to use the restroom or eat dinner, and simply just spacing out while playing are recipes for disaster. Always give 100% attention to your hardcore character. Keep your health bar and combat situation at the forefront of your attention. You need to lock in. Focus up, and always have a game plan for when things go south, and always have items on hand in case of emergency situations. This goes double for group content and dungeons. One small, momentary lapse in attention is all it can take for hours or even days of playtime to vaporize in an instant. Focus up and lock in. One of the things I love about WoW Classic is the emphasis on the adventure one goes on when journeying to max level. Contrast that with modern day retail WoW, where you can level 5 or 6 different characters to max in the time it takes to level 1 in Classic WoW. This extra time spent makes the journey much more meaningful, and there's almost an unspoken bond that gets created along the way. Your character almost becomes a representation of yourself, the quintessential aspect of a good role-playing game. In hardcore WoW, however, this mindset can be a deadly poison. In this game mode, death is all but inevitable. You can actively avoid it as much as possible. One thing is abundantly clear: you will die, and you will lose your character, especially as a beginner. When you first venture into hardcore WoW, you need to be continually asking yourself, how will I feel if I lose this character? When you play with the inevitability of death in the back of your head at all times, it becomes less of a bitter pill to swallow when it actually does happen. That way, instead of flipping the table over in a fit of rage when you hit the dirt, you'll instead roll up your sleeves, pop open a can of Mountain Dew, and triumphantly say, "We go again." This tip can be applied to both versions of Classic WoW. There's a massive amount of group content to be enjoyed in this game, and in the hardcore version, having a trusted group of friends to play with acts as an additional layer of security against death. Having a healer or a tank buddy with you can be the difference between sneaking out of a sticky situation unscathed or killing boars in the Valley of Trials for the 7th time. A guild becomes even more valuable at higher levels, when the more difficult dungeons come into play. There are some really bad eggs out there that play for no other reason than to crush the enjoyment of total strangers on the internet. Running difficult content with trusted friends in a Discord call ensures that there's not some absolute douchebag who's going to ruin the experience for everyone else. Remember, there's people out there that would love nothing more than to see your days of time go up in smoke by them griefing your experience. Don't end up in a group with one of these people. What do you think, guys? Did I miss any? Feel free to leave your own hardcore tips in the comments below. Hardcore WoW Classic can be a daunting endeavor for a beginner, but with these tips in mind, you can greatly increase your chances for success. With some perseverance, determination, and maybe a healthy smattering of luck, you too can achieve that incredible milestone, level 60 in hardcore WoW. Stick with it, have fun, and when the Grim Reaper eventually shows up, shrug him off and go again. That's it for now, guys. I'll see you on the next one.